All right, welcome back to the Cheech and Manny Music Show. We are back. We are live. I am your host, Mr. Manny, right? Otherwise known as Mr. O to some people. I got the people's basis. My co-host, Cheech Carrero, Chris Carrero. Cheech, my friend, how you doing?
Doing good, man. How's everything? I like the look. I love the trim. It looks good.
Thank you, brother. It's funny because when I tried out a new barber. You remember my beard was pretty long. I look like
Yeah,
Gandalf,
yeah,
I figure it was time for a change, so I go to my barber and I say I should have been more detailed, but I said, give it to me short. He's like, okay, I'll do it. So
yeah. No,
I
good.
close my eyes and then I open them and I'm like, whoa, that's
Yeah,
way too short. But listen, man, summer's here.
it grows.
No, and
Uh,
I figure for the Yacht Rock episode, I think it's pretty appropriate.
yeah, I've been getting shit about mine by certain people. We
Why?
won't mention any names. But
Why?
I'm trying to grow the Charlie Manson beard. Uh, Speaking of, we just did a five-part series that we're going to end on true crime, which was very successful. A lot of fun. Thank you, our viewers, for sticking it out with us. And as we took a left turn into true crime from music, we're back to music. Today, we have a great show. Um, just do a couple shout outs to the great Pottersfield BX. Love those guys. And our last episode was amazing with one of my heroes, Son of Sam researcher, Mr. Manny Grossman. Thank you, Manny, for being on the show. Show is a huge success. Um, and just had a great day with my daughter. My day off. On my day off, why do I go to Greenwich and then I end up in Stanford and played some bass. So just a great day. So,
Mm.
how about you? Any shout outs?
Yeah, shout out to all our fans watching. And yeah, shout out to, I guess I got two, but shout out to Manny Grossman. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah,
I
amazing
think
show.
I speak on your behalf that for you was a dream come true.
Oh, it was.
Him
Yeah.
on and just really get involved in the Sam Berkowitz case, which we're gonna close the case file for now. But
Yeah.
um, I thought it was fun. He was a great dude. I loved his interview, especially with the Rush stuff. I thought that was very
Yeah.
interesting.
Rush. This is Rush. Amazing.
Yeah. And I just want to shout out to actually, if you don't mind, like my girlfriend, which, none of
Awesome.
it behind me is possible. She's been loving the show. Her friends have been loving the show.
Great. It's
She
great.
showed it to her mother, loving it as well. So happy. I couldn't ask for a better girlfriend and
Yeah.
soulmate because I think it's
I met
cool.
her. She's very sweet, amazing. I'm so happy. I'm so happy for you, both of you.
And great taste in music. I hear, by
Of
the way,
course.
some AM Gold songs on her playlist.
Oh, great.
So to check this episode out, you want to learn more about the music that you love, but most people love, and I feel like I don't know if you agree with this. I feel like that soft rock, they call it soft rock. It gets a lot
Yeah.
of hate,
Yeah.
which is sad, and then now it gets more kind of ridiculed because of the yacht rock,
Yeah.
moniker.
We're gonna get into
We're gonna
that.
talk about that,
We're gonna
but
get into.
TJ, so shout out to you, brother. Always love
Yeah.
doing the show with you. It's
Oh,
really
same here.
fun.
Same here. You know, it's almost like we did a true crimes five-part series. That was like our caress of steel, and
Yeah.
people stuck it out with us instead of saying like. So yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about yacht rock. Me and you, as you know, we love soft rock. I grew up with
Yep.
it. Like being a kid, a product of the '70s, soft rock was everywhere on the radio. Everywhere I went, I would hear, the Eagles, America, um, Player, Little River Band. It was a soundtrack of my life as much as Boston and Rush and all these other bands were. I'm almost thinking like I didn't put him in there, but like, Peter Frampton had a couple of almost soft rock songs. I don't know why I thought of that just now.
Well, what's funny? Hopefully, we can talk about it really quick. But I feel that Peter Frampton cannot be left out. But first, he's sort of like a. It's interesting because he started out sort of like a blues guitarist, right? Like he
Humble
started in
Pie.
the band Humble Pie, but then he blew up, and if anything, he became in the middle of the height of the AM Gold with the song "Ooh Baby, I Love Your Way" and "Show Me the Way," which I'll be honest with you, it enters yacht rock classics and AM Gold classics.
It definitely does. Let's not do the evil. Y word.
No, last time I'm mentioning it, and the only reason why for our viewers out there, Cheech, they may not be aware, and you're gonna go into it, what it used to be called, what
Yeah,
genre it was. And sadly, and again, we want to do this video because we want to make sure that this is not music for yachts. This is not rich white man music. This
no.
isn't, I feel like we got to get rid of that. And we want to make a case we're not calling it yacht rock anymore.
Yeah, this is music for everybody. Anyone who's a rock fan. If you're just some rich dude on a yacht, fuck off. You know what I mean? It's for everybody. I hate that term. And actually, we're gonna get into that term, and it's basically kind of a joke. It's kind of a joke, actually. So, no offense to guys who own yachts, but anyway. So let's jump right into this. Um, I forgot. I got to keep it G. I'm sorry. I said the F word. Getting a
Your discretion is advised.
little wound up today, as you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I guess we're starting, right? So
yeah.
I guess we're gonna start at the prehistoric, right?
Well, I'm a little schizoid on this. I got a lot of stuff. I'm gonna be moving.
Where are you going to start?
I'm gonna start off with soft rock, where it started, who started it. I'm gonna take it down to the prehistoric level. Then,
Okay, so we'll start the prehistoric because and I guess before you begin, let's start like we did with the pre when we tackle genres. Let's go to the beginning before it was you know uh before soft rock was a thing. Even though technically soft rock has always been kind of a thing,
oh
it
yeah,
roots in a lot of things, but definitely ain't your Delta blues though.
no, it's not gonna be Iron Maiden or Rush. It's gonna be just amazing soft music in mid tempo, which is very important, to talk about. So to get back to the prehistoric, I did a lot of research on finding this. So there's a song called "Earth Angel" by the Penguins. They're a doo-wop group.
Right.
Supposedly, that's the first soft rock song, and then the Four Freshmen, "Day by Day," and the Platters, the famous song "Only You," is considered, you know, soft rock from my research. And of course, our man, Mr. Dylan, had a huge influence on Blowing in the Wind, 1962 on Freewheelin'.
Now, now, Cheech, question:
Yeah,
What's the difference between soft rock and folk rock or folk? Are they the same?
that's a good point.
And the reason why I say that is because you mentioned Bob Dylan, who, by the way, watch our Bob Dylan episodes. At this point,
Oh,
this dude invented genres. Like,
yeah, everything. And an argument I texted you at the temple between two people. One of them is named Daquan. The other one, I won't name his name, but you know him. We'll call him David Berkowitz. Um, and what they were talking about me on my day off. They were basically saying Cheech is always talking about Bob Dylan and how Bob Dylan is better than Hendrick Lamar and all this stuff.
oh, I'll be honest with you, Kendrick Lamar will have to thank Bob Dylan because
Exactly. And
popular music at the end of the day, I mean,
yeah, a
yeah,
customer.
I hate to admit it, like poetics wise, like Kendrick Lamar is a poet. I'm not gonna, he is. Any
Oh
rap
yeah.
artist that's really good. And as an aside, I was listening to, and again, all respect to Kendrick Lamar, um, Wu-Tang Clan. I mean, these guys are street poets.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They have to be indebted to Bob Dylan because in a way, he invented that sort of lyrical style, rhyming schemes that don't really follow some sort of, they just rhyme, but the word
yeah.
Bob Dylan, for example, if you hear in the songs like Subterranean Homesick Blues, I mean, there really was nothing like Subterranean Homesick Blues where he combined the blues, but then the lyric. And I'll be honest with you, the blues artists lyrically did not do what Bob Dylan did. And then I think it had a direct influence on like, the way rap is. And so,
Oh yeah. Oh,
both are good, but Bob Dylan is definitely the innovator. And anyone that knows their music will be indebted to them,
oh yeah,
to
definitely.
him.
And I basically said, you guys won't get it because yeah, Kendrick Lamar is your Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan is my era and it's your era, and it's like you can't compare the two, and
Well,
the mindsets are so different that
yeah, and it's funny. I would pose them the question, or you can, because who do you think is better, like Muddy Waters or Kendrick Lamar? And they'll quickly bash on Muddy Waters. They're like, F this music. Like, I don't like this.
well when they started to bring up other rappers like Jello and this other stuff, and they're laughing at me because like I don't know it. I'm like, all right, guys, who did the album Caress of Steel? And they looked at me and they're like, huh? So it's a generational thing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But I feel like if anyone knows their music, yeah, you got it. Bob Dylan's for popular music, he is insanely influential to the
Oh
point
yeah.
where I think I'm really, you know, awestruck at the man. And speaking of, the soft rock explosion that we're gonna delve into, he definitely had a hand in it. And I think folk rock is like sort of like a little archetype of what's gonna be happening. It's mellow music, like the Birds.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's good.
His, the Birds version of Tambourine Man, Mr.
Well,
Tambourine.
they're okay. It's funny you said that because now I went way back to the 50s, and Bob Dylan. But going back to your original question, is folk rock and soft rock the same thing? I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say yeah because it's played softly. What's the main thing about soft rock? It's soft.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And think about what's the band that we discovered was English, and they sound kind of like Bob Dylan.
America,
America.
yeah,
They took a Dylan playbook and Neil Young, by the way, which he was
yeah.
Canadian, and he the innovator of soft rock.
And I have a whole thing about there's really only three true, in my book, soft rock bands, and America is one of them, and I'll get into it.
I have my list too, so I look forward to that.
There's mid-tempo songs, and then there's other bands like Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles that were a little bit heavier that did great soft rock songs. So anything that's soft, the content doesn't matter if it's about folky lyrics, as long as it's mellow and soft, it's soft rock. Bob Dylan is soft rock, definitely.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
I love how you mentioned you went way back with Earth Angel, these great
yeah,
songs that are so slow, mid-tempo. They're
yeah.
not like R&B songs in a way, in my
No.
opinion. They're not rhythm and blues songs. They're not really soul music, but they're just music that, for example, Earth Angel has been used at slow dances. And I
Oh
think the connection with soft rock and slow dancing, like that
yeah,
mid-tempo vibe.
and that was like the prehistoric stuff. They're called the Penguins. Check that out for our viewers. The Four Freshmen, Day by Day, and the Platters, Only You. You know that song, Only You. If my voice cracks. Then you mentioned one, the Birds. They're
Yeah,
definitely innovators. Mamas and the Papas.
definitely innovators.
And I think this might be the first soft rock song, The Association, Cherish.
Hmm.
That's a great late 60s soft rock kind of song. Now I'm gonna move up to just a few, and I get a million of them. Like this is just the intro. I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. This is the prehistoric stuff before
Yeah,
it was its own genre.
yeah, this isn't prehistoric now. I'm going to talk about the guys who started to innovate it in the late 60s,
Hmm.
starting with Simon and Garfunkel.
100%. And
Uh, 1964, Wednesday morning, 3 a.m., Sounds of Silence, Bridge Over Troubled Water.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
I'll admit that's not even their best album, but when you look at album, and we talked about this, Page, I'm sorry, A Sage, Rosemary and Thyme,
oh,
Parsley, right? That's a whole, mellow album and soft rock template. And then, if anything, their pinnacle is Bridge Over Troubled Water,
oh, definitely.
which kicked in the 70s with songs like The Boxer, The Only Boy Living in New York, and the Boxer and Bridge Over Troubled Water, which they set a precedent.
Oh, yeah.
So I think Simon Garfunkel are one of those that, because they're folky. Don't get me wrong, they're folky.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We talked about that when we kind of versed them between Simon Garfunkel
Yeah.
versus Bob Dylan. No, Bob Dylan definitely wipes him out of the, you know,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
but Simon Garfunkel were, yeah, especially on the album, I always forget the order, but parsley, rosemary, sage, and
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I worked in produce, I used to joke about. Um, but yeah, so them.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now that's mid tempo, but
Yeah,
it's still soft rock. And then of course James Taylor.
yeah.
And I think, in my opinion, and I'm going to keep saying this, this is my favorite. Fire and Rain might be the greatest soft rock song. It might
Yeah.
even be one of the greatest songs ever written in my top five.
Album and song. Yeah, I agree with you because James Taylor, and again, once again, like he's different because you have like you have Blowing in the Wind, right, by Bob Dylan.
Yeah,
You can argue that's soft rock or mid-tempo, but or soft, whatever. But the problem is like that's why I asked you, is there a difference? Because I think folk is different. James Taylor took that sort of acoustic guitar sound and made
yeah,
something with it, and it reached its peak on Fire and Rain,
yeah.
where the whole song again it literally exploded the 1970s.
Oh yeah.
Allowed, and I don't know if you mentioned her, Joni Mitchell, highly responsible as well, and
Also, yeah, she's on my list. Yeah, I have.
Carole King at the same time.
Oh, she's the queen. I got the queen on there. If Aretha Franklin is the queen of soul, Carol King. I'm just going about who innovated it. Like, I think it was like 1970 when James Taylor came out, and then our man. Well, other songs. Country Road was another song for him. Sweet Baby James.
Yeah,
And then our man, Cat Stevens.
100%.
And Cat Stevens is truly folk rock. I mean, soft rock at its best. Those of you who don't know Cat Stevens, get out there. Fathers and Sons. I mean, it's so many great songs. He's the man. Now,
No, and I think Cat Stevens, T for Tillerman, and the other one's called the song The Wind.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah,
I hear it in the wind, and it's so
yeah,
stunning. And again, once again, it's not folk. It's interesting when they came out, or even
yeah,
a song like Father and Son, which is stunning. And
yeah.
it's not like a Bob Dylan folk song, right? Or Willie
No,
Coltrane
no,
folk song, or even a Pete Seeger folk song.
no,
It's not really a protest song. It was this strange music where it was mellow,
yeah.
pretty, lyrics were nice, some mid-tempo-ness right there.
And there's a story involved, and I'm going to get into the
Yeah,
form. Fathers and Sons will make you cry. The lyric in that
yeah,
air supply it make you cry. These lyrics. So there's an emotional aspect to these.
right.
You know,
Right. Well, even the song, and just one more thing about Cat Stevens, his famous song, "Wild World," like "Ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild world." Like
and
it's stunning, and it kicks, it brings this, and you said it, the intimate lyric style, which Bob Dylan already innovated.
yep,
Now it comes into full swing where James Taylor, for example, "Fire and Rain" is autobiographical, right?
yes,
About his drug use, about his disillusion of his previous band. Um,
yep,
and then Cat Stevens, when he wrote Wild World, it was this girl who left him for Mick Jagger, and he was so hurt.
God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so when you listen to the song, he's like, "Ooh, baby, it's a wild world," and I hope you, yeah. But he's sort of like a nice send off. Like I think Cat Stevens is such a nice guy,
Yeah,
pretty good
and,
looking guy too.
and what's funny, getting into Wild World, I also get into the '90s where heavy metal bands got into soft rock.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
instance, Mr.
It started with the 80s ballad, which Phil Collins returned,
Yep,
metal bands took, and
yep,
power ballad.
the power ballad, but it's a little different than soft rock. But like, for instance, like Mr. Big did a cover of Wild World,
Was not a coincidence. Why?
and then that was played on soft rock radio. So soft rock radio would play like the band's Extreme, More Than Words. Here's a heavy metal band, but More Than Words is it's a soft rock, beautiful song. Kiss did a song Forever, and it was a soft rock song. So are they ballads or are they soft rock? That's the thing.
I feel like they didn't want to call it soft rock, so they call it the ballad. It sounds more artsy.
But it's soft rock in
Oh,
my.
100%.
So I'm just gonna name a shit ton of bands, and I'm gonna go through the years. So the
Now,
night,
wait, so you finished with the prehistoric stuff?
yeah, that's a
Okay,
start.
so we talked about the prehistoric. We mentioned a few bands, a few innovators, and I guess we're already starting because we mentioned James Taylor.
Hmm.
We mentioned Cat Stevens.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I'm gonna bring up Carole King, but I'm gonna just go. I'm gonna name a bunch of bands that came out. So in the '70s is when soft rock blew up. The year
He,
1970, moving up. And I'm gonna name a ton. So get ready, and I'm gonna break them down, but not all these bands. I'm just gonna name these are bands. If you're into soft rock, you need to listen to. Okay. Um, Number one, Carole King. You know, Air Supply, the Doobie Brothers, Chicago, 10cc, Joni Mitchell, Bread. I'm not even there yet. The Carpenters, America, the Eagles, Sales and Croft, a great example. Summer Wind, I think one of the most beautiful songs written.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Wait, pause. Just one thing I want to comment. Like the thing about the soft rock bands,
Yeah,
they were called soft rock, right?
yeah.
They like Bread. You mentioned Bread.
Oh yeah.
There's one song that's so criminally underrated and beautiful. They write the most
Time
beautiful
in a
music.
bottle. That
Huh?
time in a bottle.
No, that's Jim Croce.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
That's
yeah.
another one. That's he's
Yeah.
another innovator.
He's,
No,
he's on there. Yeah, he's on my list.
but the thing that what I want to share is that they wrote some of the
Oh,
most
I want to make it with you.
that one.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's it.
I was listening to it on the way to work one time. I couldn't stop listening to it.
Oh, it's
That's the
beautiful.
thing about the music. It's mid-tempo, so it's nice on the ears or soft, right? Like literally it's called soft rock. And
Right.
then lyrically, there's such beautiful songs. And I just want to mention one more. You're probably gonna mention this band, America. You Can Do Magic.
Dude, they're in my top five.
Um,
That's one of the songs. It's like, fuck, I don't want it. Mine.
Wait, Cheech, I have a question for you. Do you think the Beatles had any influence on the soft rock movement?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. What's the song? Oh God, why can't I think of the song by the Beatles? I can hear it in my head, but I can't. What's your favorite Beatles song? We talk about it all the time. It's slow, ballady.
My favorite?
Yeah, we've talked about the
I,
song.
I got several. She's Leaving Home.
No,
Hello, Goodbye. And I Love Her, which I would argue is there.
yeah.
I Should Have Known. Is it late Beatles?
Some.
Something, something by oh my. And Frank Sinatra said by the way, like this is so famous. When Frank Sinatra, he hated the Beatles, he hated psychedelic rock, which
Yeah,
sense. But he said when he heard something, this is one of he claimed that this is one of the best, most beautiful songs. And he didn't even know like he covered it.
yeah.
George Harrison single handedly, yeah,
That that's a beautiful soft rock song.
yeah,
I would put that up there with any. I didn't really put the Beatles in here because they're all over the place. And
right. I mean, they're innovators. They're like Bob Dylan.
oh yeah, the Sales and Croft, the Eagles, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Elton John, Loggins and Messina, Gordon Lightfoot, of course our boy Jim Croce. Can't forget John Denver. Now he gets lumped into the country, but the guy had some amazing soft rock
Yeah,
songs.
yeah.
The Kings of the East End, Air Supply, the Iron Maiden of soft rock, in my opinion. Orleans, Player, the Little River Band, Firefall. Those are big names in soft rock in the mid '70s to late '70s. Orleans, Players, Little River Band, Firefall. Check them out. Now the '80s comes along, and technically 1979, one of my favorite, Christopher Cross.
Yeah, it releases one of the most seminal albums. It's self-titled debut, right?
Yep. Ambrosia.
Another
Uh,
amazing one.
Now we talked about this. Mike McDonald comes up if you go into Wikipedia, whatever. He had some soft rock songs, but he's not really soft rock because he had some rocky type songs with the Doobie Brothers. You know what I mean? So
I will say, but the music that he's kind of made fun of because of the soft rock, and that's what stuck with people.
yeah,
Songs like and even his soul his solo work, but What a Fool Believes became
yeah,
iconic
great.
of the 7 a.m. gold sound,
And
7 soft rock sound.
you got to throw in, and I forget, and you keep reminding me. I don't think of them as soft rock, but like Rick, you don't lose that number and stuff. Like
Oh, I was gonna say Steely Dan, and I'll be honest with you, the reason why I say Steely Dan is soft rock, and eventually AM Gold, and eventually they sadly plumped them into Yacht Rock, which is
yeah,
stupid.
yeah,
But Steely Dan, if you listen to, I first of all, I'm a huge Steely Dan fan. Their
love
music's
the
so
Asia,
good.
one of my favorite albums.
Asia, but every album they release is perfection.
Oh
But
yeah,
Can't Buy a Thrill, I'll be honest with you, they set the template for the more instrumentation, where James Taylor was mostly acoustic, right?
right, yeah,
Drumming here and there. Cat Stevens, Carole King, really sparse instrumentation. Piano, she was more a piano player. But Steely Dan introduced, like, I think what we think of, like they set up bands like Toto,
oh
Ambrosia. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And
Paco, another band, Paco.
yeah, and what's weird about Steely Dan though, but at the same time they were jazzy, they
Well,
were
well
bluesy
then
at times.
then they have Reelin' in the Years, which kicks fucking
I
ass.
was gonna say, which Jimmy Page says is one of his favorite guitar
I
solos.
I think it's the greatest guitar solo. I think next to Badge is one of my favorite guitar solos by Cream.
Yeah.
You know, I just love that. You know, obviously Stairway to Heaven, but Badge, the ones that stick out. Stairway to Heaven is just classic. But
No, that's classic rock. We talked about this as a little aside with the Eagles. We
a
said
whole
that the Eagles are definitely soft rock,
yeah,
Godfather. The problem with the Eagles is that, but they rock
they
on
rock
Hotel
front.
California.
You know, um, but so yeah, so Christopher Cross, and then you have Lionel Richie, and now we're in the '80s now. I'm
Now
going
we're getting into the and I know you're gonna mention them, Hall and Oates.
Hall and Oates, Kenny Loggins. I'm not sure if he was '80s or not. I think he was '80s. Richard Marx, late '80s.
Late 80s, yeah.
Um,
You're gonna put
then
Bolton in there?
yeah, but that's in '90s. Then you have Journey and you have REO Speedwagon, who had some beautiful power ballads,
Mhm.
but Journey had Open Arms. That's a soft rock song. That brings you to tears. Or Faithfully.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
But then it gets the arena rock guitar solo in there.
Right.
So is it really soft rock? I think Open Arms is. You know what I mean? But they're beautiful. So that's the '80s. Going into the '90s. Don't laugh at me for this, but Wilson Phillips. I really thought they had some good, like, soft
Well, it's
rock.
funny. Well, it's funny. Later on we call Yacht Rock, but then it became, and you know this on the radio station, it was called Adult Contemporary.
Yeah, that's what they.
Not a
Yeah.
bad rap, sadly, I think. It's but they a lot of pretty music, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, and then did you say Michael Bolton?
Yeah, yeah, because he definitely is put up
Michael
there.
Bolton is the king of the '90s for soft rock, in my opinion. Richard Marx, he falls in the '80s and the '90s, and of course Celine Dion. You know, so then it changes. So it changes. The early '80s is where soft rock ends. And then the mid '80s production, like with Rush, like the production takes over and it loses its feel, and soft rock goes to pop, and it's more '80s '90s pop soft rock. And to me, in my opinion, the real true soft rock, it dies by 1982. It's gone. It's not
And,
anymore.
yeah, and before you, I'm gonna ask you why, but before you do, uh, I just want to give a shout out to my boy Phil Collins because he resuscitated the
Yeah.
soft rock sound for a little bit. But then Phil Collins got a lot of hate after. But for a little bit, he was like on top of the world when he left Genesis, and his
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
little album work is, no offense, it sounds like it could have came up from the 70s.
yeah, yeah.
You know? But so why do you say 1982? Why? Why did it
Uh,
die?
because I'm going by the sounds of the bands, the way it's been produced. You know, there's a production that's that goes along with soft rock, and Phil Ramone had a lot to do with that.
Oh, speaking of Bill Ramone, you forgot to mention Billy Joel.
Now, Billy Joel's interesting. He falls in the soft rock category, but like Big Shot and stuff like that.
No, well, that's what you know. What's funny? I compare not on the same level, but I compare Billy Joel to Bob Dylan in that he took what Billy Joel is really good at is being like a chameleon. But I will say, but on albums like The Stranger, you're right. He can rock like Moving Out Anthony song.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Then he has a song that's so soft rock. That song "Don't Go Changing."
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
You,
yeah.
you know the song? I'm blanking
Yeah.
out the title.
Just the way you are.
That's the way you are, like, which is stunning. But
Yeah,
but Billy Joel definitely falls in that weird Eagles category where
yeah.
we don't know what he does, but Billy Joel definitely mastered the soft rock genre.
Or you could say Piano Man is
I
a
was gonna say from the get-go that was Bob Dylan inspired, which
yeah,
again, going
yeah.
back to Bob Dylan's like archetype.
Definitely, you could hear the harmonica in there.
Yeah.
So I think there's a production that soft rock has from the late '60s, and it ends in the early '80s when analog dies out and digital comes in. And
Right.
to me, that's a big part of that sound. It's not warm anymore. In the '80s, when Richard Marx was doing it or Lionel Richie, it was '80s slick, fruit. Like who else did I say in the '80s? Like Journey and Kenny Loggins. It lost that analog sound that we love so much from the '70s, '60s, and the '80s. And
It makes sense. It makes sense. And you heard it. Like you heard
oh,
the
like you can't compare America's production to a Lionel Richie album in the '80s.
right.
And Lionel Richie was doing some amazing music in the '80s. As far he did some cheesy stuff too, but he, what was that song "Endless Love"?
Hmm.
It's him and Diana Ross, I think. That's beautiful. That's definitely soft.
Yeah. Yeah.
So any comments on that?
No, I like everything what you said. I think you mentioned the best bands, and so people out there can get a good idea of what we're talking about. And we started out with the name soft rock, and I think it fits pretty well. And also the ending, and you said 1982.
Yeah, to
Okay,
me,
I can see
I'm
that.
gonna go from 1968 when Simon and Garfunkel came out, even further. Simon and Garfunkel.
Funny, it went through an evolution because later on, James Taylor, I mean, he lost a little bit of fame. He wasn't as big as before.
Yeah,
Cat Stevens also disappeared. Kill
yeah,
King, that's
yeah,
it. You
yeah.
know,
They had a run like it was like
they had
metal.
a run.
Soft Rock's run was probably from '66 with Simon and Garfunkel.
You guys
Go.
mentioned the Carpenters.
Oh, they're in there. They're in there definitely. And basically like it loses it like from '66 to say when Christopher Cross came out and stuff. That's the end of soft rock, I think.
Well, it became sort of a thing, and I saw somewhere where it sort of had I don't know if it was maybe there's another artist, I think it's Jimmy Buffett, I think his name is,
Oh
or
yeah, that's just like
no,
cheap.
but I'm saying it turned into that.
That's
Where
Yacht Rock.
no,
That's
no, it became a
yeah,
cringe thing,
yeah,
and then got kind of made fun of, you
yeah.
know?
What's his name? Randy Newman, people like that. And no disrespect to them. I like it. But Jimmy Buffett, I'm not a fan of.
Right. But I'm saying, but it sort of became sort of like, tropical rock because it's mellow, right? At the end of the day, like it started again. Why it's called yacht rock? Because rich people put on the music on their yachts, and so it's kind of
Well, yeah, we'll get into that whole thing, and that's basically a joke.
yeah,
How it started. But yeah, so I think really its era is from '66 to 1980, ending with like Christopher Cross in the early '80s, like with Sailing and stuff like that, and then there was some you know good early 80s soft rock, but by 1982 is when, all the bands I named were reaching in, like Orleans, um Orleans and Player, Little River Band. They're like late 70s. They might dip into the 80 or early 80s. I can't stop talking about them. Like I love Orleans, Player, Little River Band, and Firefall. They're just, that's the to me that's the epitome of being a little kid and putting AM Gold on. Here,
Yeah.
those four bands. Ambrosia, Christopher Cross. So that ends it. It ends there mainly for production. It's the production is not analog anymore, and it's just more of a just the overproduced, slick. Michael Bolton is
But
great.
it's what becomes in the 80s and a lot of Phil Collins stuff too when they
Yeah, oh
start.
yeah. Now picture how cool Michael Bolton would have sounded in the '70s doing those songs.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was real slick
No, and that's
'90s.
when the 90s it wasn't cool anymore, except with old people. Like old,
Yeah, but I'm talking about the production. You know what I mean? Like how we talked about Rush sounded different in the '90s and the '80s.
right,
Michael Bolton's songs. I love Michael Bolton. His music is great. Here's this guy with like long hair singing, these beautiful ballads,
right,
but
right.
overproduced and it's almost like cheesy.
Well, that's what happens also when the power ballad becomes cheesy for a lot of bands. It got to the point where too overproduced.
Oh yeah,
Kind of
definitely.
lost that naturalness.
Yeah. So I'll get into the definition of what soft rock is. It's rock, pop, and folk. We got to put that in there. Um, it's a mellow genre. The acoustic instrumentation, uh, bass, drums. There are some, you might hear some nice little guitar, you know, solos in there that sound a little heavy, like they don't fit in some of these songs. There's definitely not metal, but it rocks a little bit. Some of the guitar solos. Um, there's keyboards, strings, woodwinds, instruments like that. Now the lyrics are the most important thing because that's what gets you. That's what sucks you in. The lyrics, love, relationship, everyday life, themes of romance, heartbreak, introspection. And then I forgot to bring up, Laurel Canyon. I put this in, like,
That was the 60s, and that would include the Mamas and the Papas, your
yeah,
Jackson Browns, which again, another
yeah. I put that.
innovator, Joni Mitchell's, Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Young.
Yep, I got your Joni Mitchell in there because I put that underneath her because I thought I forgot that. But Laurel Canyon is definitely a huge important sound in that. Um, so just getting into more history in the mid '60s, a summer song by Chad and Jeremy came out. Here, There, and Everywhere. That's also a a classic song. Now, I don't know if I have my maybe I'm mistaken. Did the Beatles have a song called "I Love My Dog"?
No,
No. Okay, then that must be Cat. Does Cat Stevens have that?
I don't think it does.
Oh, okay, I don't know where that
What's
came
it
from.
called?
What's that?
What is it called?
I love my dog.
What
Uh,
is that?
it was a song, but I don't have the artist. But Chad and Jeremy was another innovators that I wanted to add in there. So in 1968, hard rock ruled, and out of nowhere comes the soft rock, and it was like hard rock
Oh,
needed.
I love my dog is Cat Stevens.
Yeah,
Never heard that song, but
well, that's considered one of the innovators of soft rock songs. So soft rock rivaled hard rock, and then it was a nice break from the Jimi Hendrix, the Creams, the Black Sabbaths, and all that stuff.
well, and the thing there to understand, I think, is that most of even Black Sabbath, it's blues based.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Pop rock is not blues based,
No,
which is
it's
interesting, right? It's
almost
not.
Americana traditional in a sense.
No, and that's why again, once again, Bob Dylan and his sort of his invention of folk rock,
Yeah.
where he and by the way, he went back to the blues because Bob Dylan ended up liking the blues, and
Oh yeah.
obviously in terms of the music, like you just mentioned, like Jimi Hendrix, Cream, and all these bands, like they were blues based, and One of the few band, and I think that's why they have such a huge influence is the Beatles, where they kind of started moving away, right?
Yeah,
And then actually, there's a story in which James Taylor's first album, I don't know if he had a first album. James
yeah,
Taylor, it's really good. He recorded it at Apple Studios.
right.
Got influence, like so there was this weird influence where like James Taylor was it was introspective lyrically, musically, definitely going back to acoustics, more mellow sound, no blues. There's no blue,
Right.
nothing of blues, and the lyrics are not, talking about a woman that stabbed me, right, or something.
No, 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 no. It's definitely, like these lyrics they're so sentimental, like reminiscent when you hear that. I think you posted that when you hear
Little River Band, yeah, it comes later.
just like, oh my God.
Rosanna by Toto, such a
Oh yeah, yeah, Um, so, lyrics are very important. So then soft rock is rivaling hard rock, and it's a nice balance. And it's also a genre that slips in, it sneaks in there with disco, punk,
yeah.
hard rock. So you have soft rock. Then the radio stations and the record labels started to call it easy listening music, AM. It was played on AM. Now that's where AM gold comes in.
What is it? Do you explain that?
Um, so AM radio is where they would play soft, like they would play everything. You would hear Zeppelin, Sly Stone. Oh, how can we forget this? We lost Sly Stone, one of the greatest funk artists ever, and Brian Wilson this week.
Yeah.
Little tribute to those guys.
By the
So
way, one more soft rock innovator, Todd Rundgren.
oh God,
Yeah.
hello is
I was gonna say they starting the 1970s once
yeah,
again.
so many you could go insane. It's
Definitely like early 1970s was one of the peaks
yeah.
where and once Neil Young releases Harvest, a soft
Oh
rock
yeah.
country-ish masterpiece.
Well, it starts in the 70s, like mellowish, and then it gets mid tempo into the mid 70s, and then it becomes easy listening.
And Bob Dylan, Blood on the Tracks.
And
That's
Phil,
a soft rock masterpiece in a
that,
way.
that's Phil Ramone, I believe, right? Because Phil Ramone helped carve the sound of soft rock. So it becomes easy listening, adult contemporary radio, the lighter sound. Chicago starts doing songs like this. The Eagles, Elton John, obviously the Carpenters, and Bread. Um, so that's basically let me see. All right, and then here's some other hits like James Taylor. We talked about Fire and Rain, Bread, Make It With You, Carpenters. They Long to Be Close to You. 1971, Tapestry, Carole King, one of the best-selling albums of all time. Neil Young's Heart of Gold from Harvest. 1973, Wings. What is this song?
Oh yeah, Paul McCartney was king.
Yeah, Had My Love or
Really love songs, which is a
Silly
great.
Silly Love Songs. So in the
My
mid,
love, my love.
I love. Oh, it's beautiful that song. Yeah.
I think Paul McCartney is again talk about Godfathers, and he just
Oh.
thrived in the '70s.
Then in the mid to late 70s, it's its commercial peak of soft rock. You mentioned Toto, England Dan, Air Supply, Sales and Crow, Fleetwood Mac. Rumors was like the best-selling album of the decade.
Well, I was going to say pause because Fleetwood Mac is interesting because Fleetwood Mac started as like Peter Green, right? Blues bass,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
guitarist, guitar work, blues rock music, and then Fleetwood Mac, their self-titled debut in the '70s, and Rumors brought in this sound that I'll be honest, another soft rock height and template. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it's sunny, production wise, but lyrically it cuts deep because I'm talking about Rumors where the band and some of their members were in relationship with each other and it
Oh,
just dissolved and it
well, at one point, Christine McVie and John McVie were breaking up. Lindsay
Rockingham and Stevie Nicks.
and Stevie Nicks was messing around with Mick Fleetwood. So
Right.
this band was a complete mess, and drugs and everything was
Right.
involved.
But they created one of the arguably one of the classic soft
Oh,
rock
Room
masterpieces with songs
greatest
like
greatest album, and
"Fade Far Away."
it has total soft rock elements in it. So like by this time they're all jumping on it, and now the record labels, just like when metal came out, was signing all these bands or forcing, you got to do a soft rock song to these bands. You know, maybe that's why Phil Collins uh, got into the soft rock thing. Maybe Michael McDonald. You know, like you got to do the soft rock. We need a soft rock hit because that's what's selling. So maybe for about 5 or 4 years, it was a huge, huge thing. You know. So now, let me see. I'm gonna talk about my top favorite. Um, Let me see. Did I miss anything? Oh well. Before I get into that, let me just go over this. So I talked about Genesis, "Hold My Heart." That's where I think a record label is pushing them. Extreme, "More Than Words," "Mr. Big to Be With You," "Kiss Forever," Clapton, "Tears in Heaven," Richard Marx, "Now and Forever."
And when Clapton released "Slow Hand," which he embraced the soft rock sound.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, soft rock, are they rock bands only playing softer rock songs, or is it soft rock? That's you know the thing that I always think about. There's metal bands being played on soft rock radio. So, but like I said, 1966 to 1982, that's the peak of soft rock. But it was still out there up until the 90s, going pretty strong. Like I said, with Richard Marx, Michael Bolton, Extreme. Any comments on that?
I just think that at that point when Extreme comes out and all that, at that point though, it just like you said, the record label wanted a soft rock hit or soft because that was the hit.
Yeah,
That's
but it's played on soft rock radio.
right, but they became hits though.
Yeah, yeah,
Remember Extreme, that's their top charting song.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
Supposed to be that way, right? But once again, I think it's a testament to the soft rock, especially the early seven, but anyway, the whole 70s is peak, where and you said, for example, is a band soft rock or is like who because they play soft rock or they are soft rock, right? And I
You-
think at the end of the day, what ends up happening is in the 70s you had let's take for example like Steely Dan, right? Can't Buy a Thrill, their debut album, which by the way was taken from a Bob Dylan song. They pretty much created all easy listening. It's easy
yeah,
listening, like even
yeah.
Reeling in the Years, even though it has kick-ass guitar solo and guitar work, it is very easy listening.
It's true. It is. It
And
is.
it's a popular yacht rock song where guys or gals will play on their boats.
Yeah,
But I think this was the moment where the bands who single hand, oh, Todd Rundgren, who, you know,
yeah,
Joe King, they were onto something and created this movement. By the 80s, it started fizzling out. Now record labels knew that, because obviously they were hits, but
yeah,
they were
yeah,
peak in the 70s. Like,
yeah.
and
In
original.
the '70s, it was still a genre.
Well, that's the thing with the genre, and the
Yeah,
bands weren't trying. Yes, they want to become famous, of course.
yeah,
They were into the artistry. For example, like Fleetwood Mac, even though they Fleetwood Mac, the one before Rumors, obviously, I think they crafted a insane best-selling masterpiece, but they put artistry into it. Uh,
definitely.
America, most of their albums are beautiful, acoustic,
Oh yeah,
masterpieces, right?
yeah,
Talented singers. But then when the 80s came, again, and the only one that was kind of doing it was Phil Collins, but then he got a lot of hate for it because all his albums he was trying to copy that model. Just
yeah,
like Michael Bolton, he was trying to copy that model, but the only
yeah.
difference is that he did it in the 90s where technically wasn't cool anymore. Even
No,
at the
and it's a shame because Michael Bolton, I think, is super talented. It's the production that killed him.
right.
Uh,
Cheesy. It doesn't hold up.
No,
It doesn't
you could
hold up.
even say there's a grunge soft rock song by the Google Dolls called "Iris."
Well, oh yeah,
Like
and that
that
became
that's a
the hit.
beaut. That it took me a while to go back and listen to that song, but it's a beautiful song. It's beautiful, you know. Um, so now I'm just gonna list I what I think are the top in my world, in my wild world. The top
Oh, this song is pretty good.
I can't say who is that.
The song is called "You Make Me Feel
Oh,
Like."
Leo Sayer. Yeah. Oh my God.
That's a good soft rock song. I don't know about the album, but
I have dreams about that song, dude, because I remember being a little kid sleeping with my parents, right? I was like 4 or 5 and I had to get up for like preschool. And my father had this big ass like alarm, and I'm sleeping. I'm in a deep sleep, and all of a sudden I hear, "You make me feel like dancing all the way," and I'm just like, "Oh my God!" Like I get up, and every now and then I'll wake up with that in my head. From it's like a maybe you can analyze me. It's like a psychological alarm.
you internalized it.
When I was 4 years old, whenever I hear that song, it goes back to being in a deep sleep
Mm.
as a kid, and then knowing I got to get up
Which
for,
is not bad.
huh?
Which is not bad. Not bad.
No, but when you're a kid, you don't want to wake up for school, and then all of a sudden you're in a deep sleep, like, that's it, just like, oh my God, great song though, Leo Sayer. So my top 5 albums, and then you chime in at yours. Number one, Tapestry.
Mhm. Masterpiece.
Number one album for soft rock. And the song on it I gotta go with is "So Far Away," which
Yeah.
me to tears, and "You've Got a Friend." Don't don't get me wrong. You have "It's Too Late, Baby," "I Feel the Earth." They're mid tempo. It's not really soft rock, but it's still considered soft rock. The next one, James Taylor, "Sweet Baby James," 1970, triple platinum. His voice is warm and soothing, nice vibrato, great instrumentation, great backup band. Fire and Rain, Sweet Baby Jane, Country Road. Doesn't get better than that. Amazing. Now, do you have any you want to throw out there? Because I have, like, I don't want to hog it all.
Well, I definitely my top list. You already mentioned like if I mean, there's probably like 10 albums in my
Well,
top.
the next one I'm gonna say is in your top
So,
one, two. I bet America.
yeah. I don't know. I was listening to their well, first of all, America is interesting. We discovered our English, which would actually make sense because I think one of their albums, or I don't know, most of it was produced by George Martin.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting, but they have Homecoming
Mhm.
album, which is really good. Ventura Highway.
Oh yeah, Ventura Highway. I mean, Sister Golden Hair Surprise. I mean, that's classic soft rock.
A Horse with No Name.
Tin Man. Um, and then I think you mentioned that You Can Do Magic.
Yeah.
Oh, their sound was folk, pop, rock, and their harmonies were beautiful. Great acoustic guitars. Now that's a band that was mainly acoustic, and they're from Britain. Dewey Bunnell and Dan Peake, and you said George Martin. Now, the other one I came up with is, well, I'm gonna put them last because they're actually number one. I'm gonna put them last. Cat Stevens. I mean, he is amazing. We talked about him. Wild World, Father and Son. The first cut is the deepest. Is a beautiful song. I love my dog. Now the first cut is the deepest. Don't let that Cheryl Crow rubbish. Forget that one. Listen to the Rod Stewart cover before that. But his is amazing. So Cat Stevens is up there in my 5. Jim Croce, only 5 studio albums. Warm, earthy voice, great melodies, great acoustic guitar. He died young in a plane crash at 30.
Mhm.
Time in a Bottle, Lover's Cross, Leroy Brown. I mean, Jim Croce is a freaking genius. He's one of the greatest American singers, songwriters of all time. I love the guy. Oh, and then the one I missed, the Kings of the East End, the Iron Maiden of soft rock, the one, the only, Air Supply. To
Mhm.
me, that is the greatest soft rock band. I think that really epitomized America and Air Supply. That's true to the point. If you want to know what soft rock is,
Yeah.
they don't sway to mid tempo too much. America does. Air Supply is just one tempo, beautiful. What are my notes on Air Supply? I put the Kings of Soft Rock. They sold 100 million copies of that album
Makes sense.
worldwide. I'm All Out of Love.
Which is
Uh,
a favorite song.
Every Woman in the World. Um, I have a comment, but I won't say that. It has to do about Daquan. No, I'm only kidding. um, Lost in Love. Here I Am. I think, in my opinion, if you're gonna go into soft rock, they're it. There's they epitomize what a soft rock band should be. Right? You agree with me on that?
I think they kind of capped it.
They were the Iron Maiden of soft rock. 100 million. No, no, there was a Zeppelin
Oh,
of rock. A
but
hundred.
funny, they became hated though after.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Only because of the bad, again, any soft rock band, like Michael McDonald, they
Yeah.
became hated after. Not cool.
Well, because the genre died. It died.
That's what I'm saying. And it got replaced with, obviously, for example, like we talk about, and it's crazy because like we're into prog rock. Obviously, this is not prog rock, right? Heavy metal. I'll be honest with you, this is not heavy metal.
No.
We talk about the new Wobbin, punk completely started destroying things,
Yeah.
introduce a new soundscape that
And,
eh,
and and soft rock is there when all this is going on. So when punk is going on, when disco's going on, when new wobbin is going on,
disco too, yeah.
when metal's coming up, it's all there. Soft rock is a huge genre.
But it just dies, and anything after, most of these bands never became,
Oh, you never heard of them?
struggle.
You know what they did? They jumped on the casinos. They would do the casino circuit.
Yeah, well, it makes sense, and it will add to the bad rap that the genre had,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know. But yeah, Air Supply, I think, the song like "I'm All Out of Love," like I think that's and even Chicago got really cheesy with it.
yeah. Oh,
I like,
beautiful songs. Like and Chicago fits in the end of soft rock, early '80s. It just dies down, and then once MTV came out, there was no soft rock being played like in the sense we're talking about. There might have been ballads, obviously, Norma Jean or whatever by Elton John. I'm just rambling ballads. I'm trying to remember, but I just think that it ended at that point. I'm gonna go through a couple more. I'm repeating myself, but
let me see my top five
oh,
real
I'm
quick.
sorry. Yeah, yeah. I apologize.
So for me, I'll put pictures of it. In no order. I wouldn't be able to know. I mean, I'll say what I would pick for number one. Toto 4,
Great album.
number
Great, great.
4, which I've been listening to the whole album. Insane. Like talk about like musicianship next level, and um, I feel like that album. I love it. The other one is the famous Christopher Cross with his Christopher Cross album, I think, is a
Mm-hmm.
masterpiece. I listen to every track.
Sailing is on that.
Huh?
Sailing.
Yes. And Ride Like the Wind.
Oh,
Every track is soft, like
yeah.
you know. Um
Something about his voice. Just something
oh
about his voice. But yet again, he was like a one or two hit albums, and then he was gone.
well, but you know why? It's because when he released his famous album, think about it. I think the year was it was sort of like that peak end, but at
Yeah.
that point it was done because new Wobbin started coming forth and becoming popular, right? Punk in England was not liking that type of sound. The young
Oh
kids,
no.
the young kids,
Well, look what happened to Dennis Stratton. Why he got kicked out of Maiden.
right?
He was listening to 10cc, and Steve Harris walked
Well,
in.
see, no, that's what I'm saying.
Like, what is this rubbish you're listening
What
to?
is it rubbish? It isn't it?
Out of here! You're fired. You're not listening to
Um,
Foe.
I'm gonna put any album by America that we mentioned,
Any,
Tapestry,
yeah.
Neil Young's Harvest, any album from James Taylor, but especially Fire and Rain, Crosby, Stills and Nash album as well, which is a masterpiece. And I'm talking, you know which one I'm talking about? The one that has Sweet Judy Blue Eyes.
And I was thinking about them. Did they have a song called Southern Cross or something in the
No, I think it's Ohio.
they
No.
had a soft rock song in the 80s
Oh, they
that
could have. Yeah, yeah. They
was
they
like
kept chugging. They kept.
northern it was like it had like a great riff in it and I forget I don't know but your list is amazing. Your list is Christopher Cross is like he's like if Air Supply's made in Christopher Cross is like Ozzy, for freaking, soft rock.
No, and really quick, and just individual songs that I think are so amazing. But What a Fool Believes by the Doobie Brothers.
Yep.
Biggest Part of Me by Ambrosia. It's such a beautiful song.
Yeah, yeah.
This one hit wonder guy, Robbie Dupree was Steal Away.
Steal away.
Why don't we steal away?
Beautiful song. Beautiful.
We have songs, Steely Dan once again, Peg. It,
Yeah. But
mm,
now Peg, it is soft rock. It definitely is. But
it
it's
is,
got
but the
that
problem with that album is that, but then you have songs like, I would argue Deacon Blues is soft rock. But
Kid
then
Charlemagne, is kind of jazzy. But
that's what's
yeah,
so odd about them. That's why you
there's
can't.
there's a all right, let's say this. There's a soft rock
Yeah, yeah.
swag about Steely Dan,
Oh
that
yeah. Oh
very smooth, almost smooth jazz
yeah.
in a sense.
In a way. Um, we have also, and these are like reminiscent by the Little River Band. These are reminiscing, must listen.
Classic, yeah.
We have just a few more that I want to mention. 10cc, I'm Not in Love, which is such a beautiful song.
Love that.
We have also, I got one more. We have, yeah, I'm Not in Love by 10cc. And this is an interesting one, but famous Rupert Holmes escaped the Pina Colada song.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
La Pina Colada. I was like, that,
It,
that became such a.
you know what's cool about that? It's about a guy in the 70s. What, like, okay, I always laugh at that song because he explained that song on a show. I remember being a little kid.
Right.
So in the 70s when it came out, that might have been 80s. That might have been the end of soft rock, like the one hit wonders were coming out. That's a great song. That's a great point to bring out. He said that song was about so now we have dating services. You just go and you meet girls online. Back then you had the newspaper ads.
Classified.
Right, when back in the day, we all did it. Me and my friends, and you meet crazy people, but it's about a married couple that were bored, and they both put ads out,
Right.
and you didn't say a name. You just, you would, I guess, you know, put where you're gonna meet or
Oh
something.
yeah, just based on the song, it's like in the newspaper, and I don't know any of this, but just based on the song, which is funny. It was like the dating apps where you would say on the newspaper ad, anonymous, right?
Yeah,
Partner to, drink pina coladas at midnight, meet me at
yeah.
the bar. If you're interested, call me.
But the funniest thing was, and I don't know if the guy called her and he didn't reckon, maybe he disguised his voice or he didn't realize who it was. When they meet in the bar, it's his wife,
Yeah, that's like the twist of the song.
which is
It goes
genius.
like, I didn't know you like pina
Yeah,
colada.
yeah. It's genius.
It's
It's like
genius.
he kept his marriage together by wanting to cheat on her. That's the ironic thing
And
about
she was doing the same thing.
it. Exactly, you know. Um,
And Carole King, dude, Tapestry,
yeah,
100%. So far away, doesn't matter.
beautiful, beautiful.
Joni Mitchell,
Oh,
Blue is amazing.
yeah,
And I have one more. And my boy Bob Dylan, Blood on the Tracks.
yeah,
Even though he's like Billy Joel, where he, for example, we watch our Blood on the Tracks
yeah,
episode. We delve a 4 hour
yeah.
episode analyzing the album, but he goes from Tangled Up in Blue, which is
Hmm.
like that again, a mid tempo, Shelter from the Storm. But then he goes to Meet Me in the Morning, which back to blues base, bringing it back to the blues, right?
Yeah, 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 definitely.
But once again, I think Bob Dylan got influenced by that sound and the sound that he ended up influencing in the 60s. So, but anyway, Blood on the Tracks is definitely top. And anything from Cat Stevens, especially the albums. Yeah, anything by Cat Stevens is amazing. Um, I would say, yeah, Teaser and the Fire Cat, which has the song "The Wind,"
Yeah,
and there's such a beautiful song called "Ruby Love." Have you
I
ever
know that one. Yeah, beautiful.
Ruby, my love, Ruby, like it's so good. And T for the Tillerman, which contains the hits Wild World, Father and Son.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he's a one-hit wonder, but the album's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
In the Cradle.
Oh, oh, I
I know
can't
you have a story about that. I'm not sure if you
do
want
that
to,
one. I
I don't
can't
know if
do
you
that
want to
one.
talk about it live,
It,
but
who? Wait, what's his name? Terry Chapman, right?
Harry Chapman, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, was he a one-hit wonder, Cheech?
No, no, he had another song. I think Taxi Cab or Taxi Driver.
Okay.
Look that one up. I'm
The
curious.
album is called I could be mispronouncing it. Yeah, it's a good album. 1974. And once again, also and something that we forgot to mention, soft rock also enters the singer-songwriter genre as well.
It's all singer songwriter,
No,
right?
it's
Yeah,
sort of irreplaceable, right? Like again, Bob
yeah.
Dylan once again influenced all this. But the album is called Verities and Balderdash.
Did he have is Taxi Cab on that or Taxi Driver?
That's one. No,
Is
Catch.
there is
No,
that another song he had? I'm just curious.
Taxi. It's called Taxi.
Yeah, yeah. I know he's a two-hit wonder.
Yeah, and actually, Taxi. I'll tell you right now, Taxi. But that first album, have you listened to it?
Oh yeah, my parents had it. And even as a kid, when I heard "Cats in the Cradle," it made me cry.
Yeah, it's on his 1972, and again, sort of like the height of the soft rock movement. I think.
Yeah, and a band called Ugly Kid Joe in the '70s, like a one-hit wonder. I mean '80s, '90s, heavy metal band. They covered it, and they did a great job.
Oh, it's so
But to
cool.
me, it might be one of the greatest emotional lyrical songs ever written. The story in it, because being
What song is this?
the Cats in the Cradle.
Well, it's funny because just this line is gonna haunt you. I'm not gonna end up like you, Dad.
Yeah, I'm not gonna,
I'm,
I'm
I'm
not gonna
butchering
work.
the lyrics, but
Not gonna work at the temple like you, Dad. Loser. You know what I mean?
and the cat's in the cradle. Then that
No,
song
but
has a haunting quality to it. I don't know if it's a 12-string
I
arrangement.
mean, I don't know. It's just what I get out of it. I don't think it's like I'm not gonna be like. I think he wants to be. It's like he wants to be a better father, the kid, because his dad wasn't around. But
Right.
that's not my story at all. It just when I would hear like the lyrics or the guitar part, like
Yeah, it has that weird 12 string.
yeah, yeah. And he's like, son, I can't be with you today, but we'll catch up again. I can't, I gotta do that. And then as time goes on, this kid gets older and he's like, hey, you want to hang out? And he's like, well, the kids are, my wife's got the flu. I got the kids. Sorry, dad. Maybe another time. So it's basically about being a parent. And the way I get it is watching your kid grow up. But like, it's also about a dad that wasn't around, which is kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A- And a very similar connection, Father and Son by Cat Stevens, which is also another devastating father song where
Devastating.
with that relationship where Oh, I mean, look at these lyrics. Like, I love his singing. Like, yeah, it's not time to make a change.
Oh God.
Relax, take it easy. You're still young. And he says that's your fault. But like,
Yeah,
it's great.
yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah.
And then the song goes like, and he says, "Find a girl, settle down. If you want, you can marry. Look at me. I am old, but I am happy." And then he goes like, "How can I try to explain? Like, this is so
Uh,
big singer songwriter. Like,
dude, you're bringing up two songs that if you played, I'd be embarrassed because
well, I was literally, you know, what I'm thinking
tears
about.
would be coming down my eyes. I
I
mean, literally.
feel Cats in the Cradle creeps me out. There's something creepy about that song. Beautiful song though. The
Yeah,
string guitar work, insane.
yeah,
But I love the song, and especially it's haunting. Am I gonna be like you, Dad? Am I gonna be like Cats in the Cradle? Like it's a great song.
yeah,
Cat Stevens, emotional to the point where I'll be honest, I had a great father. No, but I can feel the emotion in that song. Like it's hard to explain. I can see why the tear, especially you having a
yeah, yeah. I mean, I had the best. I have the best parents in the world. So like, I don't. Like, it's not like my dad wasn't. My dad was around constantly when I was a kid, and I'm always around for my kid. But the thing that gets me about it is the kid has to grow up, and that's not a sadness. It's a happiness. But
I call it like it's sort of it's like the blues, right? Or melancholic, very melancholy. Something
yeah,
in life that gets you sad in a good way.
yeah, like you want your kid's always going to be your baby forever, but like when a kid takes on their own life and stuff and you're not seeing them as much, that's what
And,
got me the
and when do
cats.
you let go?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, I can only imagine your pain.
I can never let go, but like,
I'm sorry, not pain, but that what you're
yeah,
talking
the cats in the cradle, that's what I get out of it. Like, wow, the father wants to see the kid, but now the kid can't see the father because he's got a family. It's a cycle of life. It's just so anyway, the whole point of those two songs, they're genius stories. Oh
about.
my God. And when a song lyric could make you cry, there's something special. Just hearing the intro to the Cats in the Cradle,
Yeah.
it's like hearing the fucking Exorcist
No,
music.
no, no. I mean, again,
Emotion, the
Henry
emotions
Harry
come out.
Chapman.
Yeah,
It's great. It's something I love 12 acoustic bass
yeah,
music. The 12 string acoustic.
yeah, yeah.
Ding 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 ding
I
ding.
started hearing that, and it's like I said, hearing The Exorcist. There's an emotion that comes out, like when you hear the
Yeah,
theme from The Exorcist or Halloween, you're
yeah,
just like fuck, oh my God, I'm scared. But when you hear that, you're just like, oh
yeah.
God, I'm depressed now.
And on a positive note, just jumping to Steely Dan's "Reeling in the Years," when you hear that guitar line,
A little stutter in the beginning.
dude,
Yeah,
it's like something in that song, but that song is devastating lyrically.
yeah, 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 yeah,
He's reeling in the years, like reeling them in.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not working. And even the song, again, a lot of this music from the soft rock genre, it's actually either emotionally very lovey, but really lovey, or
yeah.
emotionally devastating.
True. It's like one extreme to the next. Like you're happy with your girl, and you're reminiscing about your past,
Reminiscent.
or help is on the way. Like stuff like that. And then you have Chapman and Cat Stevens that are just like singing like devastating fucking
No, I
lyrics.
know. And just to talk about my favorite band, I love Ambrosia's album. Amazing. It's called 180. Definitely must listen to. But biggest part of me, they write one of the most heartfelt, and I don't think they get enough credit.
How
Like,
much I feel that one.
no, it's called Biggest Part of Me. It's like
Oh, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
beautiful. The melodies and the what's that word, Cheech? When voices are in unison with other people, the choir or
Well,
um
harmony.
harmony.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Sunrise, and then he goes like, "There's a new sun arising in your eyes. I can see a horizon." Like,
yeah. I mean, I have like a list too. Like, I'm just going through,
they go through, like you said, both extremes. Beautiful love, but probably one of the best love music. And Kel King, Tapestry's devastating.
oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah,
Far away, like
Oh yeah. Well, okay, yeah. That reminds me of being a little kid. You know, that's another emotion, like being, God, what was I, 2 or 3, hanging on to my mom, you know, listening to that. And those are the greatest memories of all time for me. But then you grow up. You grow up and then you're like, God, I wish I could be that 3-year-old kid hanging on to my mom, listening to Carole King. My mom said I would always stare at the album cover and think it was my mother because my mom had long hair and there was a cat, you know,
Right.
on it. So I got a couple too. Orleans, Dance with Me. Do you like that one? Dance with me.
Orleans, right? I
Yeah.
think I've heard it one a couple times. I like that song. It's really good. I gotta listen to it more.
Uh,
Orleans.
Still the one.
Although, wait, it's still the one.
No, Dance with Me.
Dance with me, dance with me. Got that. Let from their album 1975. So that's peak.
Yeah.
Let their.
That,
Although the album cover.
well, they weren't. You know, I mean,
No, I can
let's
see
face
why
it.
they get a bad rap. And actually, look at this. I mean, the album. Some of the album covers were just like. It's similar to Rush.
Some of these guys look like child molesters in these soft rock or Dahmer.
I mean,
They
no
look,
offense. These people look like.
or they look like.
You see,
I'm not gonna say what that looks like. That would be one of those, you know, video stores back in the '80s, and then you'd get the wrong movie. And go, no, I don't want that one. I don't know.
I think you know who had the coolest album cover? Steely Dan.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Artistry, you
Well,
know.
let's just say soft rock wasn't known for its look or its album covers.
Oh, actually, an aside too, Christopher Cross. That album cover is like boring. It's like a flamingo. It makes no
Uh,
sense.
uh,
Man,
yeah,
have you seen what he looks like?
yeah, he looks like he could
Looks
be
like he
just
looks
the
like that.
manager at the temple.
Oh, yeah, yeah, he looks like some mix.
we we won't go there.
I mean, he looks like yeah, he looks like that dad with a beer gut that you find at like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get
eh,
that ball off my grass.
And this dude is one of the greatest guitar players. He's
Yeah,
guitar
he's
playing is
a great
underrated.
guitar player. It's a good point. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and he's playing. It's great. The video's really cool. But when I saw him, like, ew. I should make fun of him. He's talented, but I'm just like, that's him.
Yeah, but it's like they weren't kissed. They
And
weren't
Steely
nothing.
Dan's weren't lookers either.
Oh no, no.
They were kind of scary. I think his name is Fogelberg. Fogelberg. Damn. He's the
Yeah.
guy that has that voice. Your everlasting smile, can you see it fading fast? But he has a weird, like, he's not a looker.
No, no,
Look
no,
at the video for the Reeling in the Year song. None of them are lookers.
no, no, no. They
And
weren't.
at least Singer,
At least they looked like rockers back then.
100%.
You know, these guys, the true soft rock guys. Do you ever see Air Supply's first cover? Bring that one up. It's fucking brutal.
Sure, I saw it.
Fucking brutal. It's like, no
I'm not
offense
gonna
to
lie.
these
I don't know.
bands.
I don't know who's worse. Like Rush is like band pics or like yeah, they're pretty bad. And I could yeah, it's pretty bad. I can see why. Oh yeah, yikes. I don't know. I don't know how you want to describe it, but no, I'm sorry, folks. It is pretty scary. But again, I guess this is where don't judge a book by its cover applies because the music is amazing.
Yeah, the album covers wasn't a big part of the thing. They didn't have Eddie or anything on there. You know, they
Even
were
no,
about
even no, and even Toto's album covers were kind of cheesy with that sword.
yeah. I
They were
think
real cheap.
none of them had a logo or a stamp. Toto did. Toto had the Toto, but
They did, but it was cheesy.
yeah, but I don't think the album covers meant much to these guys. It was more about the music, and they look like dads. They look like you know,
I mean, just as a side, I think okay, so Steely Dan had cool album covers. Cat Stevens, really cool. He
yeah.
actually hand drew a
And
lot
he
of.
had a look. Cat Stevens had a look
Oh, he
unique.
was handsome. He was a good-looking dude. And
Yeah.
his album covers, he made them for his children's storybooks, which is
Uh,
yes, that's really cool. And then you had James Taylor, who the first albums were pretty unique, but then he ended up looking like a dad.
yeah, they all look like dads. I'm trying to think who else like
Carole King is iconic because her album covers are pretty iconic.
here's two more. The little I brought up the Little River Band. Here's an obscure one. People out there should listen. Lonesome Loser
It's called
by
Long.
by the Little River Band. It's
Oh,
it's It's a great, it's amazing, amazing, amazing song.
Well, the Little River Band for our folks out there, they're and again, once again, they started in 1975, but then peaked. I think in that song that you mentioned is on this album called First Under the Wire in 1979, but their Sleeper Catcher album is a masterpiece. It has a song reminiscing. And
Yeah.
actually, the album is actually kind of cool.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, for me, I always loved this music. So I told my kid this story today. Not what we were just talking about. When I was about 21, I worked in a shoe store in Portchester called Delson's, and they always had the soft rock station on,
Right, right.
and they would play these songs, and I would go crazy. I would go, oh my God, I forgot this. It brought me back as a kid. And I got the number of the radio station.
Amazing.
And I would call the radio station and be like, what's this song? You know, it was local. It was like in Scarsdale or something. This song, it starts off, it says like, what's the name of the song? You know, here he is, a lonesome loser. I would sing it, and they're like, "Oh, that's the Little River Band." You know what I mean? And then I
Right.
found this song, "England Dan," on "Nights Are Forever Without You," and this is emotional. And I said, "Who sings "Nights Are Forever Without You"? And they said, "England Dan." And I'm like, "Well, I want to dedicate it to my girlfriend at the time, who I ended up marrying." And they said, "Okay." And I recorded it on the radio. I said, "I got a surprise for you." So it was like, so this station was so cool because I would call them up and be like, I would hum the song and they would tell me who it was. Like,
Right.
good luck doing that. Now we have it in our phones, you know. Just a couple more. Sales and Croft, Diamond Girl. Beautiful song. I don't know if you know that one. I think Summer Breeze might be one of my all-time favorites.
That's a
The
good one.
the Eagles, I'm just gonna name a few. Um, Lion Eyes, New Kid in Town, Take It to the
Wait,
Limit.
Cheech. Wait, I'm gonna pause right here. Hold on. Hold on, I'm gonna pause.
So, we have the Eagles, Desperado, One of These Nights, Lion Eyes. I love that song. New Kid in Town, Best of My Love. That's
I think that's yeah, yeah.
Gordon Lightfoot. Now, this is for our viewers. Like we're throwing a lot of shit at you, but check this out. Remember, write these bands' names down. If you're a young kid, um, go out and whatever you do to listen to music, because soft rock is not popular anymore. People do not talk about it, like
No, no. Actually, though, but shout out to the movie The Guardians of the Galaxy. Have you
yeah,
heard of this movie?
yeah.
The soundtrack contained a lot of they did a little revival for a little bit back in
That was about a decade ago, right?
I know the soundtracks they always put in some nice tunes from this era and they did a little revival for a little
Oh
bit.
yeah. um you know so Gordon Lightfoot, Carefree Highway, If You Can Read My Mind. Oh my God, amazing. and
Great
then
song.
and then one of the best next to Air Supply, Bread. you know
Yep.
Red they had an interesting cover. I remember my mom had the album. I remember looking at the cover. It was kind of their pictures on the face. I said they look like child molesters, these guys.
I mean, like, well, first of all, the song "Everything I Own" is so good.
Yeah.
Everything I Own,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's kind of crazy because their album covers. I'll be honest with you, they do not hold up. I mean,
Well,
the
what was Let Your Love Go was the song I was gonna say. But like, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but
no, no, no. But I mean, they're pretty. They're so dated. I mean, pretty cool album cover though. Band logo.
and what an odd name for a band. Like it's
Seriously,
money.
I mean,
They go,
look at that. You said it best.
yeah, keep them away from young children.
I'll be honest with you, they weren't the coolest looking. Many of them.
No, if they walked into a party and then Jimmy Page and Robert Plant walked in, those guys were not getting laid that night. Fred, Fred
I
walked.
mean, you know what's funny too? Like Michael McDonald. I mean, he's not. I
He,
mean,
he, he looks like he should work in the butcher. Be a butcher or something. They look like
he,
regular
he
guys.
said it best. He looks like he works at the temple. Like he's some manager there.
Yeah,
And actually, there's a temple priest that kind of would give that vibe. If you know, that's my joke.
maybe he was in a soft rock band. I gotta ask him.
I mean, look at this. Let me show you. This is Michael McDonald. Again, most of it did not hold up. I mean, you
Nope.
tell me, what does this dude look like? Hold on. Do you know a song? I keep forgetting. Dun, 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 dun. Like, look at the album cover. It's so bad.
Hey, he looks like a guy. It almost looks like a homeless man. And
I mean, he looks like some like rapist dude or something.
yeah, open the door now. Like an abuse.
Like, yo, it's like, yo, take off your clothes right now.
Yeah, a date rapist. Wait, the roofies didn't kick in yet. You know what I mean? It's like,
By the way, viewer discretion is advised on the Cheech and
yeah.
Manny.
Sorry, I
Um,
gotta let out. I gotta let my frustrations out on this show. Manny knows why.
I already know. I mean, like I said, these dudes, I don't know. I don't think they were getting laid.
Oh,
Like,
there's the Doobie Brothers. Well, the Doobie Brothers were pretty cool. Like they had
well, they were cool before.
Skunk Baxter looked cool. He had the big mustache.
Yeah, yeah, he did, and great voice too. Like,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
reminded me of some like Dan Fogerty.
Great guitar work too. The guy was
Dan Fogerty, Fogerty.
Fogarty. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I mean, not bad. The album covers kind of hold up, you know.
Yeah, no, the Doobies were rockers. They were definitely. The guy had really long hair too. The
Yeah.
singer, like
It's
super.
funny when Michael McDonald joined, he brought them to soft rock though territory.
Yeah,
And
they.
look, he looks like some dude that, just came out of the butcher shop. I mean, the rest of people look cool.
Yeah, yeah. They look. They look pretty cool. But with like Air Supply and some of those other bands,
So bad. And
lock
even Ambrosia is terrible.
lock up the children.
Yeah, I hate to admit it. If you're gonna bring them out, yeah.
Yeah,
I hate to admit this too. Like 10cc also look a little strange. And their song, I love the song, I'm Not in Love.
You know what's crazy? Like you don't think about like okay when you hear mentally we all whatever goes in our heads when we hear music. You're gonna think of Led Zeppelin, what they look like. The Sabbath, they look cool. Rush. I
Yeah.
think about
Even to a certain extent, actually, no, Rush looked pretty scary too.
no, but like I never think about what soft rock bands look like in my head when I
It's
hear.
funny. No, no. Right now with you, I'm thinking about how bad they look and creepy a lot of them.
Yeah, compared to how cool Zeppelin, Jimmy Page got the bell bottoms on stage.
Oh,
Logan.
even like, oh, actually, no. I think prog rock had that problem too. With
But at least prog rock, they look cool. They were showy. They had like Chris
that's true.
Squire, crazy what he wore, but
That's true.
with the showmanship. Rick Wakeman with his capes. It was a show. It was all showmanship.
That's true. And Black Sabbath, obviously, he told me Iommi,
Oh,
cool,
they
and freaking
dark.
and
They look
freaking Ozzy Osbourne, just being like, like
nuts.
being
And
Ozzy. And
they're
even like Iron Maiden was pretty cool. I mean,
oh,
we talked about Paul
the
Diano's look.
'80s metal and rock, and then '70s. That was about an image. Anybody could have been.
Peter Frampton looked pretty good back
Oh,
then.
he looked cool.
Look fine.
Anybody
He
could have.
was getting the girls.
Oh, he was getting laid all the time.
But Ambrosia came on, I was like, nah, these dudes.
Yeah,
How'd
they
you, how'd you
Roach was like that's when like okay if like let's just say Frampton went on and the girls were going crazy, then our next group Ambrosia, the house clears, there's a couple of guys,
Come
woo,
on, guys. Woo, yeah.
couple of nerdy guys, yeah.
Yeah, or like the Little River Band. No, the Little River Band. Like, woo. You see that? Just one guy looks like a dad.
Woo, but
They
yeah,
either, no, it's funny. They either look like child molesters or dads.
but we're making fun of them, but like they sold millions of records and they're geniuses.
They are. They are at the end of the day.
This is all done in fun
Oh,
because like
yeah. By the way, for our new audience, I'm sorry, new fans and like new subscribers, we don't take ourselves seriously.
oh this is
We're actually jokesters, if anything.
especially today. I need to laugh. I need to get
Uh,
that aggression out of the kind of
uh,
craziness that's been going on over the past couple of days. But it's fun. It's fun. So we'll move on. They weren't the dressers. I got a couple questions for you. And first, I'm just gonna, and then I have, we'll get into the yacht rock bullshit.
yeah.
So in my opinion, the only true soft rock bands and people out there who are gonna watch this and comment, please comment nice if you have anything
I
to say.
mean, honestly, comment below. What do you think of our opinions, Cheech's
Yeah.
research, my opinions, your favorite soft rock album, your favorite
Don't
singer-songwriter album? Be
don't no
nice.
we don't
No
want
hate.
arguments between Air Supply and Ambrosia.
Oh gosh, yeah. And by the way, we're not saying they don't take us seriously when we call these guys like child molesters.
Oh yeah, God.
They're not. They're not. It's all in good fun.
Yeah, they're not. They may look like it, but so the true soft rock bands, in my opinion, the Kings of the East End, number one, Air Supply, number one. They're the they're the Iron Maiden of soft rock. Number two, America, and then number three, Bread. Those are the three true. They didn't have any real fast mid tempo songs. Maybe America did a little bit, Sister Golden Hair's a Prize, but it wasn't, like really fast. Bread was mellow, and Air Supply is just. I mean, I'd say Air Supply is the greatest soft rock band of all time, in my opinion. 100 million copies, that says it alone.
Mhm.
So no arguments over Air Supply versus America, and giving us your reasons and your comments and the books you wrote about them. Anyway, here are the questions. So Manny, what is soft rock to you?
So I always say like soft rock is first of all, I always characterize it in the or put it in the time frame of the late 60s, early 70s. I think that was a peak. It's defined by its singer-songwriter element to it.
Yeah,
It's very not slow tempo, and I think like what you said there. It's not slow tempos.
yeah,
They can be, but a lot of them are sort of like that mid-tempo range. It's not hard rock. There
yeah,
might be some flashy guitar solos here and there, usually
right,
tasteful, but it's easy listening music, beautiful lyrics. Um, its height was in the 70s. You had, and examples would be like James Taylor's and Carole King's, all the way to middle, maybe Steely Dan, and then bands like you said, Air Supply, Little River Band, Ambrosia, Toto, who's
yeah.
next level in terms of like their sound.
Awesome. Um, Now, are they? What's the difference between ballads and soft rock? Is it the mid tempo of it, or is there a certain artistry to the soft
Yeah, yeah.
rock?
So I know this is gonna be controversial, maybe a hot take. The ballad, even though, listen, the ballad has its place in music, it's not a new thing.
Yeah,
I just feel like there's no artistry in it though. In comparison to the soft rock movement, for example, like you could say a song like Neil Young's Old Man, which
yeah,
is, by the way, a soft rock masterpiece,
right.
where he sings about, again, once again, fatherhood and like speaking to the older generation from the new. In comparison to songs like, and I'll just take like, the power ballad in the 1980s, for example, where a lot of it got really cheesy,
Yeah,
overly produced, and they were just trying, they were after the hit. They didn't
yeah,
really care, even ballads in general. I mean, Journey started out cool, but then they got kind of shitted on after a
yeah.
while. Like they became sort of like a cringe band. Chicago,
Ario
that happened to
like
Chicago too, where they
yeah,
focused too much on the overproduction and
yeah.
really got away
Even
from the
even
artistry.
a great band like Boston. Now,
Oh,
you listen to me, Boston is one of the greatest, albums of all time. The first
that's
album,
their debut, in my opinion. But
and,
yeah,
and when you listen to like a Man I'll Never Be, which is on, I believe it's on Don't Look Back. Now, that is a soft rock song, or
mm,
Amanda,
yeah.
which came out later on. That Brad Delp, who could hit those high notes, he can also sing soft rock. So some of these rock bands were doing it, but they didn't say like let's write a soft rock song. It was a ballad. That's
No, it was usually and again, a ballad in a rock band repertoire was usually it's funny, they usually put it in. Why? Because in their live set, it would be the one that all the girls would like, or to go to the bathroom and then come back for the good stuff. It's like that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
find that, but the true soft rock, there is an artistry, and you can listen to it in Christopher Cross's Sailing album, for
Oh
example.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Every song is it's like lyrically, it's beautiful. The instrumentation is one it fits the genre, like you said. It's mid-tempo to soft, right? Like that, not hard.
No,
Guitar solos might be there, but they're tasteful. They're not, it's not like
it's not real Dylan mellow, but
right. And it's not folky, even though you hear the folky
yeah,
influence.
the folk
It
influence.
transitioned away where, Woody Guthrie, for example, this land is yours,
Yeah,
or hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play us. You hear it, but it goes from that to just yesterday morning. I thought like, it got really that nice range, which
and then in the mid 70s, it got more electric, more
right, and that the explosion with the Doobie Brothers, the
yeah,
Eagles,
more
and then the
composed.
epic soft rock bands like Air Supply, Ambrosia, Little River Band.
Yeah, Air Supply actually has some good guitar work in it.
No, there are they're artists, musicians of high class.
Yeah, I think there's a lyric we used to joke about where they said they rock the arenas or something in it in one of their lyrics. Air Supply. I mean, amazing band, Air Supply. Okay, so that was a great analogy of it. So next question: why do you think it got so popular? What made it?
And it's funny because we talk about, first of all, in our episodes, we talked about Led Zeppelin. They exploded in the 1970s.
Oh
They
yeah,
defined hard rock. If anything, the sound of the 70s, you
yeah,
know. The Beatles defined the 60s, Led Zeppelin defined the 70s, right?
yeah.
So Black Sabbath also comes out.
Purple.
Um, Master of Reality, the
Yeah,
self-titled debut, and Paranoid.
right.
Fine heavy metal, right? That sludgy, dark
Yeah,
sound. Prog rock was at its height. Yes, Genesis, Rush. And then you have soft rock. And I think what ended up happening was, I argue, this is my hot take on it. I think this was music for the masses. So you had your prog rock lovers,
yeah,
you had your heavy metal heads coming out, your
yeah,
Zeppelin fans, right? Like, these are a mix of metalhead, hard rock fanatics,
yeah.
frat boys too, and the chicks. They were going
Yeah,
for Led Zeppelin, right?
right.
Then you had like James Taylor's or Kel King's or even Neil Young's, right? First and your Cat Stevens, then that transition to, like people like Elton John when they started writing the soft rock,
Yep, yep.
Elton John was more soft rock with his debut, by the way. Your
Oh,
song?
definitely. Great.
But I think this was music for the masses. I
Yeah,
think that's why it got so popular.
radio friendly.
It's radio friendly. You can turn it on in the background. You can put on a song, for example, like if you put on like Steely Dan's Can't Buy a Thrill, put it on the back. Easy listening. Like,
Background music for a cocktail party or something like that. And it's also soft rock was going up against a lot of music. It was going up, hard rock. It was going up against funk,
oh yeah, and disco, which
funk, disco, jazz fusion.
and Motown, whatever Michael Jackson was doing, he
Yeah.
combined so many elements.
So you had like the end of the 70s, Motown was still big. Then you get into the mid 70s, funk, Ohio Players, Earth, Wind and Fire's coming up, all these great funk bands. Then that turns into disco, like Kit Casey and the Sunshine Band. And then out of England comes the Sex Pistols. And then you have, your UFOs and your Motorheads. And then the disco thing blows up. Gloria Gaynor, Donna Summer.
Well, and then disco becomes, I always argue that there's music for the masses.
Yeah.
Like disco becomes music for the masses.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think that really started to replace, but then it got hated, like soft rock. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
anytime there's music for the masses, it gets hated.
But
You know?
soft rock made its way through all this.
And then it kind of like started like its roots in like different bands. And like we have the power ballad. Phil Collins resurrected it for a little bit, but then he got hated
Yeah,
after. Michael
yeah.
born in the 90s, but then he got hated after.
Kind of just went
Celine
away.
Dion was popular, but then she got hated after too.
Well, Celine Dion, I think, was more known for her voice. Her voice was like epic. It was like,
I would agree too, yeah.
she had a great voice. I wasn't a fan of her like songs, but like except for the
Yeah.
Titanic is beautiful. But
Yeah.
so I think that's all I got on that. Okay, so the heyday, would you agree, is from 64 to 1982?
That's a big time period, but yeah, I think that would be where you get most of the best stuff.
64 is still prehistoric. We don't know what soft rock is yet. We really don't know what soft rock is until honestly the mid 70s. Then that's when America came out, Cat Stevens. Then you get into all the bands we talked about, Little River Band. So I think that's a good timeline, and it has to do with the production, the way it sounded. It's nice analog. It's all warm. The instrumentation. Um, Phil Ramone had a lot to do with producing these bands. There's another guy too. Last name was Foster. Um, so here's the big question: is soft rock dead now, and will it ever come back?
I think like I said, it did experience a revival with movies like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
We didn't talk about songs like, well, even then, technically, well, anyway, but it did have some soft rock songs on it. But sadly, and you're gonna talk about it because of the Yacht Rock
yeah, I got that.
sort of typecast.
Yeah,
Um, I feel like for the old soul people or people recently becoming old souls, once they discovered this music, it's like it becomes like addicting or infectious. Like a lot of young people, like all it takes is to discover the music.
yeah. In a movie is a great way
Oh
for.
yeah, like Guardians of the Galaxy, among other movies.
But do you think that there'll be a bunch of young, perverted-looking guys making a new air supply come
No,
out on?
too easy. I think this age is too cynical.
They would hate it. If I played to a couple, if I played any of these songs, say to a couple of our friends at the temple, I would get laughed at. They would be
I
like,
mean, I mean, if you started saying, "Why don't we steal away?"
yeah.
I don't know if you ever seen the singer. I mean, he looks like a dad, like so cringy. He's like, "Why don't we steal away?" It's like, oh
It
man,
just
the song is beautiful.
image was not a part of soft rock. Anyone could.
It was more the artistry of the music.
Yeah, great musicianship. Number one, I forgot to say that.
I'll be
Great,
honest with you, it's not easy writing the music
no,
he did.
great songwriters, great musicianships, great lyricists,
Yeah.
lyric story. So soft rock is now a genre of the past. It's dead, and this,
Yeah, it's a relic. And for old souls like myself and you grew up in it. I
yeah,
remember when I discovered these, for example, when I discovered Kel King's Tapestry, I was blown away. I was
yeah.
addicting. I was like, wow, this music speaks to me. So a song also that we mentioned Todd Rundgren. He has a song, well, Hello, it's me.
Oh, that's
Sounds
an that makes me cry. I don't know why.
Oh, but the thing is, it sounds so timeless. Fleetwood Mac, once you discover rumors, you'll never go back.
Yeah, yeah. And there's not music like that anymore.
No, and sadly, if there was some, molester type people trying to learn their instruments and made music, they wouldn't go anywhere. But the grandmas and grandpas would dig it.
Yeah,
Dads out there like they have that beer gut.
Christopher Cross.
He looks. Have you seen the video and he's wearing some like cheesy jersey? I'm like,
And this is the thing, like that every record label, you gotta have an image. And like there was an image that went with you gotta have long hair or you
oh,
gotta
also let's talk about Phil Collins. I mean, he's not much of a looker. He was like a bull.
right. I just think the record labels were like, you know what? Fuck images with these guys. They're too ugly, but the music's really good.
I
So
mean, you guys are making hits. Keep it up. I mean, no
you
chicks at
know,
the show, but
yeah, you guys are, you're gonna get the chicks to want to meet the guys in the songs you're singing about to have relationships because they're
right.
reminiscing, and girls are gonna be like, I want to meet a guy that's in that song. You know what I mean? But it's not. The image was. I can't imagine an A&R guy looking at an album cover from Ambrosia and being like, "Yeah, we got it." I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys are gonna be the next Beatles.
yeah, there was not. I would love to talk to an A&R guy about that from the 70s. Like,
No, and when you compare it to like let's say Led Zeppelin's look, I mean, I'll be honest with you. everyone's cool. Even John Paul Jones is cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Even like, their album covers are cooler,
yeah, yeah.
But again, and once again, I think it was a rare time. It was a time of innocence where that didn't matter. What
Didn't
mattered was the musicianship, the artistry, the music actually mattered, you know?
that shit started happening in the 80s when Madonna and Prince and all these people came out. You had to have an image, a look.
Yeah. Oh, MTV.
You didn't have that image, your music could suck, but you look good. It doesn't.
And no, and even like Bruce Springsteen, when he that iconic album cover of Born in the USA, he had that masculine image.
Yeah,
Van Halen, they were like already
yeah.
getting into
And
David.
you garbage like Britney Spears, like she was hot, so
But
hot.
she had that image.
Her music sucked, and
Her
like
music's terrible.
she was
Christina
too.
Aguilera, they had that image.
Well, Christina Aguilera, I liked her voice. She was hot, but like a lot of these, I hear them at the temple. I hear these songs, and I'm just like, you know, they're not that good. But
They're okay. They're okay. Like their music, they're definitely music I would put on the background.
yeah,
I would not do that disservice to we're going Yacht Rock, but the AM Gold songs because I think they're really brilliant. And for people out there, maybe we can have a revitalization of this movement. We kind of need it because this generation has become so cynical.
yeah.
It's been influenced by stuff like hip hop.
I
Um,
I wonder if there's
Hip hop
any.
artists are not that great.
Oh, please, modern day hip hop. I'm not. I'm like I said. I was talking to these two guys. I won't mention. One's the son of Sam. One's a DJ. And we basically. I come to the conclusion, like, guys, don't talk to me because we live on different planets. I grew up in the 70s. I'm not 22 years old in 2025. Thank fucking God. And like I don't care about whoever modern rapper out there. They might be talented at what they do, but you know what they're not doing? They're not getting my emotions. They're not making me feel like the Little River Band. No
Yeah.
disrespect to it. It's just not. I'm old. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And that's not the rapper's fault. That's not my fault. That's not the young kids' fault. It's just a different generation.
No, and there's a reason why Guardians of the Galaxy, when it came out, that soundtrack was popular. It revitalized it for a little bit.
Yeah.
People discovered this great old music.
But I think that was 10 years ago or even longer. And
And now they got more cynical. And
kids are just going. In my opinion, they're gone. They're gone today with TikTok. Their attention spans are like zero. It's like very hard for younger kids to even focus or even get into music that we like. But they do. We have cases where they do, which is good. Not knocking their generation. I'm just glad I grew up when I did. Thank God. And my grandfather would say that about his gen. Thank God for Glenn Miller, not and Benny Goodman. Not whatever. What is this noise you're listening to? I had a teacher, Mr. Corda, when I was in. I ended up becoming a drinking buddy with him many years later when I was in middle school, and I got pissed one time because he was like, you know, we're going to study great artists like Glenn Miller and stuff. This music that's out there now, and I think they mentioned like Grand Funk Railroad in the book. That's just a way to measure music decibels. I got up and I was like, dude, are you joking? Are you kidding me? I was like, have you ever listened to them? And he always put that in my face. He's like, man, you were the quietest kid in the class. You didn't say a word, but when I put down rock music, you really got pissed. And I did because it's a form of music. But I get it. His generation,
yeah,
he was not going to appreciate Grand Funk Railroad, who was already at that time 20 years old, because that's how old the book was. In 1988, Grand Funk Railroad was ancient. But to him, they were a new band because he's talking about Benny Goodman and all the whoever, Chet Baker and all these great jazz guys. But I was just like, whatever. So anyway, I know we got to wrap it up soon. This was a good episode, man. Um, so do you know who came up with Yacht Rock and
I
what year?
have an idea, but go ahead. This is for where this Yacht Rock name came from.
Okay. 2005. It
Yeah,
came
that's a recent thing.
by J.D. Reiser, Hunter Starr, David Lyons, Lane Farnham, Steve Huey, from an online comedy series. And it came out the same year YouTube came out. So it became I went viral on YouTube with one of the first videos. So it was done as a joke. It wasn't done seriously. A bunch of comedians started to make fun of this music and
I,
coined it yacht rock. So
and you can see why though. Like to give it credit, I can see that. But the only problem is that the Yacht Rock name stuck.
yeah,
And that's not, this music is not for, yes, it's an easy listening, but I feel as it's music that requires, it's not drinking music. It's actually music that's contemplative, it's
they
beautiful,
love music. You know what I mean? It's romance. It's
romantic on so many levels. Yeah.
yeah. But the guys who don't get credit are a guy named David Marsh and Stephen Holden, who are music journalists for Rolling Stone, who came up with the term soft rock.
Hmm.
Now, those guys nobody knows about, but they came up with that term, and they came up with soft rock. And then David Foster and Phil Ramone helped shape the soft rock sound. Now, back to the yacht rock, it's a joke. It's a bunch of clowns, a bunch of comedians who called it that, and it gets me mad when they call it, because you don't have to be super rich to listen to the Little River Band. You know what I mean? And it's not rich people music, because rich people, what do they even listen to? Bach. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know any rich people. You know what I mean? So it's like but it's kind of like it's all silly. So, but on this episode, really good episode. I think we've been talking for forever about doing AM Gold. Oh, and AM Gold. How could I forget that? AM Gold. Around the same time Yacht Rock came out, Time Life. Remember Time Life?
Yeah.
The
Magazine.
They had an album series called AM Gold, and they had a thing called infomercials, where
Hmm.
people would talk about, it would be a commercial, but it would be like for 20 minutes. And there'd be a guy and a girl, I remember, going, "Oh, remember that time when we went there?" And in the background, it's like, the Little River Band playing. So they kind of brought back, you know, all the bands we talked about on AM Gold
Right.
in the early 2000s. And
Hmm.
buying
Okay.
it CD. So it did make a revival back then. But people were um open-minded back then, because the internet didn't destroy the human brain yet. You know what I mean? So it was like they were able to buy the CDs and listen to it, and it got popular for a while. So AM Gold what was a thing, and that's why we're titling it AM Gold. It always stuck with me. So I'm just curious to go and look and see if there's any sites dedicated to soft rock. There's got to be some people that
Oh,
like.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
out there.
I got to get an Air Supply shirt and wear it.
You just gotta be careful where you wear it.
If I wore an Air Supply shirt in high school, I'd get my ass kicked by
Oh, you already know.
no. So it's like, but I remember they played locally, and I wanted to go when I was a kid. I think they played at the county center or something like that, on their decline, on their when because they were playing the Garden. Air Supply was like at one point the biggest band in the world. They
I
were,
believe.
you know. So people, I know we've done. This is a different show for us. For music. This is the softest I think we've ever gone. So it doesn't mean we like every kind of music. We love everything from, we did heavy metal. Now we're talking about Air Supply,
Or a music show.
music show. So definitely, and a true crime show. And so definitely now, please go out there and listen to soft rock, not yacht rock, but on your station. Unfortunately, it's going to be cool. If you have satellite, put yacht rock on, leave it on for an hour, and you're going to hear at least 15 of these bands in a
Mhm.
row. we've named. They're gonna be on there. I think we covered every band.
Yeah.
I don't think we missed one, honestly. And if we did, put in the comments politely. And no arguments over Air Supply or America fighting over it. So, any final thoughts on?
I mean, yeah, just comment below if we missed anything. And if you like this video, give this video a like, subscribe for more content like this, and comment below what's your favorite soft rock, album, AM Gold or Yacht Rock. That's fine, even though Cheech and I don't like that term. And if we missed any band, name them please in detail. Give us some key albums. We'd love to, hear from all of you. And thank you for tuning in. I think this was really nice, Cheech, where we got to
Yeah,
talk. We've been talking about for like a long time doing
I,
an episode on this
I
topic.
think we talked about this when we started the podcast about doing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
fun how it comes to life, and thank you for following us on our journey through the true crime, the past 5 episodes of true crime. That was a lot of fun. We'll probably go back to that at some point down the road, but we're back to music. I have the band's Brown album written. I have a punk rock one that's been on the back burner for like
Um,
a long time that we got to do.
right.
And then we're going to do Desire with our guest Joe Silkman. And then we'll be coming up with more ideas. And we're at 50 episodes. Congratulations.
Mhm.
Congratulations, man. Exactly a year, practically. We did 50 episodes and at 4,000 views. Our last video is the most views we ever got. Thank
Yeah.
Manny Grossman for that. And that boosts us up. And when we're joking about these guys, don't take us seriously.
No, we're just joking. We're
We
just
just
joking.
need to make each
I
other
guess we're no better than those comedians that made that yacht rock.
we need to make each other laugh because it's been a rough couple days in the Cheech and Manny world, I guess, right?
But yeah,
Well,
but this is
just for crazy comments from people, but it's
I know. But again, this is the Cheech and Manny show. I was talking to Cheech here. I think we're gonna cover more topics, but we've returned to music.
yes,
And
definitely.
this was a lot of fun, Cheech. I mean, I'm glad we're back to music and we closed some case files on
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
topics.
And just when you comment, cause not to give us headaches, please be nice and don't say anything bad. And I don't think anyone's gonna diss, the Little River Band. So I
I
think
mean, we probably pissed off some Air Supply,
I
like haters or
think we're safe with this episode. We're not gonna get any bad, crazy comments. Like the last episode, if you guys watch it, there was a lot of crazy comments that it's a bit annoying, but for us, as because we hate drama, we hate that kind of thing. We just want everything to be happy, So, on that note, great episode, my man, and we'll move forward with the music. Hopefully, I think we'll either do punk or the Brown album.
I think we got punk. So for our fans out there, stay tuned for our punk episode where we're gonna look at the genre of punk.
Yep.
We have the band's Brown album, second
Yep.
album. We have Joe Silkman, actually twice, Desire, and pretty soon, hopefully, In Through the Outdoor.
Yeah, those I got to start to write. I got to get back into writing. I got to get this out of the true crime. The dials go in.
Uh, you gotta do a musical cleansing.
Yeah, I gotta light some sage around me and be like, okay, back to music. No more Son of Sam.
And comment below again your opinions on the soft rock genre, your favorite albums, your favorite artists. Did we miss something? Love. We're trying to build a community at the end of the day, and yeah, I think on that note, Cheech, as always,
Great.
brother, it was a pleasure.
I'll talk to you soon. Have a great night and thanks for being there, everybody. Peace out.
Peace out. So this is the Cheech and Manny Show, signing out.
Bye bye.